I mean, you're a human.
Yeah.
That's all she really wants.
It's true. That's all she really wants.
Dumpy ass could walk down to the beach, and if she saw me, she'd go, "Wow, amazing." I'd be like, "You don't know me.
Oh, you don't know.
You don't know what I do."
You know, my body, peak fitness for a human being.
They spent.
Wow, really? That's right. I'm the most attractive around.
They spent literally a day together, right?
This neckbeard thing I have, very rare. Also, the fact I'm balding, very masculine, you know. Also, the fact I have stretch marks on my love handles, very interesting.
That was from my big muscles I used to have.
I used to have.
Oh, look at this little twink.
Yeah,
Fuck
speaking
yes.
of which.
Come on, Sora. You can do it.
Fuck me.
Yeah, see, he turned around.
Lay eggs on me, Sora.
What?
I feel fucking deformed as all hell.
Said Goofy.
Nobody asked you, said Sora.
Girl's acting strange again.
And I can't move my lips.
Maybe I can take advantage of her. For financial gain, not something that you were probably thinking.
You don't know what I'm thinking. Do you think Ariel's gonna love it?
But if the seeking explodes,
I can assume the throne.
I can take advantage of that too.
What is he doing? That is fucking Iraq. That's not. He's not moving.
Let's linger on it.
It's no use. I can't come. I like sucking on my own dreadlocks, mate.
He probably does.
You can't hold a candle to that.
That's my only character trait.
He sucks on his.
Look at that guy. He's eager.
The moonlight shows us
That was
Remember,
very
this was,
awkward.
This was in the trailer.
Wow!
Is this where he says, "You're in one"?
He says, "I am a ghost story. You believe in the ghost story."
I am a ghost story. Look at me. I'm the bad guy in the movie. Whoa.
Do you bleed?
You better start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
You're in one.
You're in one. Boo, boo.
He's wiggling his wing. He can do something like that. Remember the Superman trailer had Lex Luthor going, "Wrong!"
That does not have the same effect with that scary music. It's so awkward. Did you see that cutscene? That was shite. Let's sail towards it.
I want to see more.
Jesus fucking Christ. See, that was shite. Let's sail towards it.
I want to see more.
Jesus fucking Christ.
They hear him.
That's what got Jack.
Stop him! He's slapping a rock!
Trust me.
Calm down!
Not to do anything.
Okay.
Everybody crowds around him and pins him down because they want to calm him.
He starts stroking his hair.
Drink this glass of water!
What
Oh my god!
See, he's going
He
ballistic.
just teleported
Oh my
behind
God.
him. I can still smell me, boy.
As long as I've got a nose,
Now then,
your feet.
I'll be
are
happy.
As long as I'm in the dark, I've got a nose.
That's true. He can't smell it if he's a skeleton.
Exactly. I'll shoot your nose clean off.
Well, don't be doing that.
Then I won't be able to smell.
Be considerate for once. Think of others' feelings.
No! He just gave the evil lamp to Zebu the Martian.
He's smiling like a Martian.
Like, how does a Martian
Yeah, what do you
smile?
mean?
Just like that guy. That creepy little man with the big head, the big brain. There's no fooling Jasmine.
No fooling?
You should fool his girlfriend Jasmine into killing herself.
You should fool her.
It doesn't matter what about, just deceive her.
We'll distract her while you fool her.
I want to see a lie to your wife.
Come up with a nasty scheme.
Don't hold back. Be dreadful about it.
Have her remember this forever. The day you betrayed her trust.
We're aiming for the deepest mental scar we can make.
Jesus.
Goofy, what the fuck are you talking about?
I think that's the only appropriate response.
Goofy, what? There's bigger issues at hand here.
Well, now the dog appeared.
Poor Kyrie, all this fucking shit's just landing. What the? That's like three completely ridiculous things.
Fuck, I was just standing here saying something.
War.
A plane crashes in the background.
And then there's a skyscraper falling,
Yeah.
and she has to start running up
And a
it.
tornado. Oh no, it's the Nostalgia Ween intro.
Why? What is your thing with
Yeah,
this?
what is with this?
Why do you watch so many of his videos?
You have to
like
evacuate
him.
Doug Walker from your mind
I
already.
can't do it.
First, at a certain point,
He's rattling around up there, screaming every day,
little
firing
boy
his
has to
handgun.
grow up and find out that there's no such thing as the nostalgia critic.
This is Halloween Town, right?
No, I don't think so.
Someone literally drilled this into my brain. I can't comprehend anything.
I'm glad he had enough just to squeeze out that one final sentence.
I need a little bit more time.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. I guess I won't talk to you anymore after this, huh?
But, Jack,
With the back fat.
Fully cutting you out of my life.
Easy. No effort required, in fact.
I don't even remember who you are, in fact.
Wow, that's pretty cool of him to do that in front of us.
Get me
I
what
really
I want,
respect
maybe
him
I'll
now.
remember you. Until then, bye.
It's very important that you don't hit me in the face really hard.
I am trying very hard not to, but you're pushing me to the limit. Step back or I'll be forced to defend myself.
No, I think I'll stand right here.
home and lock
And look at that.
Look at that fun thing. Now's your chance. Kill me.
I'm wide open.
Our stories are always better than the plot of this game.
How the hell is he hiding behind that tree?
Yeah, you go,
Kidnap him!
with reverb, insinuating they're being very loud.
What is that gigantic sack hiding behind the tree?
And that black woman that sticks out like a sore thumb.
I'm yelling!
Oh,
I think they see us! We gotta be quiet!
Tiptoe, tiptoe.
Oh! Whoa,
It just happened.
Oh. Maybe we were being fools.
I'm stupid!
I killed him instantly.
The level's over.
Why did he do that?
he really is just a comedian.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I told you. I told you.
Yeah! This is great! Yeah!
Oh, this is wacky.
Jesus Christ. Yay! Hooray for Daddy dying! Okay, he emoted.
Yeah, he did emote,
Yeah!
didn't he?
Yeah!
Cool.
This is great.
He's having intense inner conflict, Simba, because he's having dreams about experiencing his father's death
Wait a
as
second.
a positive experience.
I wasn't smiling that day.
He's really conflicted about it.
Guys, I keep dreaming about it. I'm really happy each time.
It's the stupidest shit in the world.
You really saved me.
We're just glad you're okay.
Did you see?
Sora's
What
looking
was
for
your
a
name again?
Sora's looking for a mate, you see. You're the perfect specimen.
You can breed the ultimate life form.
You can get it over with now. We'll come back in 5 years when the young are strong.
Some bad guys in black hoods? Or maybe this really big bully named Pete?
This is not a negotiation, by the way.
She starts backing away.
Even Sora's like, what are you fucking talking about?
Scar on the
Yeah, why does Goofy always interject with this weird shit?
Let me handle this. You're a child.
Why
This is for the good of the future,
let the
Sora.
grown-ups talk, Sora?
I guarantee you in 5 years we'll have mighty warriors.
You don't know what we need. I know what we need. I am the hope for the future, Sora.
King Mickey told me to tell you all of this, I swear.
Matthew Broderick. Oh no. Went for the crotch.
They play that scene back and forth. for
Sora,
the
I
next
remember
30
you.
minutes.
This is your favorite spot, right?
Oh my god.
Oh, Tifa. Take off your shoes.
What would you do if she just dived off the edge?
I would,
Chase after.
You, this is your favorite spot, right?
Oh my god.
Oh, Tifa. Take off your shoes.
What would you do if she just dived off the edge?
I would,
chase after her like that.
Yeah, no.
Tifa's committed suicide right in front of us.
She's committed Tifa-cide.
What a selfish bitch. Now we have to live with the image in our mind.
I'll never forget her body splattered all across the floor.
Why couldn't she just
that
have
idiot-
waited for us to leave?
I want to grab her little love handles and just come all over them, you know?
I don't know. Elaborate.
I was about to point out that line being delivered by Mickey Mouse.
No.
And then a very appropriate image appeared.
Look out!
Oh! Holy fuck!
Jesus.
That's the end of that character.
That's not slapstick.
Goofy!
My eyes watered up.
How many of these are you gonna get?
Well,
Not that one.
well, this is fun. Okay.
Okay, so the answer was 0.
I'm ready. Nope.
This ain't my first rodeo, boy! Die! Ah! No!
Ready. Nope.
This ain't my first rodeo, boy!
I'm ready. Nope.
This ain't my first rodeo, boy! Die! Ah! No! Danger! Ah! Danger!
Get off me, scavs.
Ah!
So I was late to the wipe, so you're thinking, no, it's game over, man. It's not possible. You can't do anything here. You're too bad. Well, my dude, think again.
Hello, sir. Housekeeping? Don't worry about it, dude. My peaks are just godlike. Don't worry about it, dude. My peaks are just godlike.
How is he left hand picking that?
I mean, you should know by now that I always stay true to my word. What'd you say about the revolver shotgun?
Asshole!
Wait. Trash for some, treasure for others.
Still want to talk shit about shotguns.
Oh, never mind.
However, sometimes it's about more than just filling up your backpack. So today's mission was to instill fear in my enemies, show them that the meta is but a myth, and make them respect the cheap stuff.
Come on, would you stop now? Okay. Oh, tracers. That's a big gun. See the container? It's right there. Oh, fuck it, I'm going for it.
No, no. 第6宇宙のヒットだな。そうだ、お前の時飛ばしを攻略しに来た。時飛ばしを知っていたか。その自信、はったりでもなさそうだな。当然だぜ。ベレスとあいつ古臭いソース顔っしょ。まさかあのヒットが押されていると。いらねえぜ。
クルスの技は使えねえし。やばくねえ。
紙パッドに新機能を追加しました。
大進化スーパーユー
まるで時飛ばしをされているかのようだ。
超速の戦士、まさにジャスティス。
もう終わりか。そうか、お前は超人的な速度で動いている。ご名答。答えはすぐに出る。はあ、ノーガード、なめやがって。何度やっても結果は同じだぜ。時飛ばしを発動させるとき、ほんのわずかだが俺は全身に力を込め。お見事だが、分かったところで対処はできないぜ。ブブゼラだ。マイブブゼラ持ってこい。
発想が安易です。騒音の中でも目的の音だけ聞き取ることができるかと。
知ってたし、どうかな。
圧勝だな。いや違う、その証拠に攻撃を受けつつも急所は避けている。これは罠だ、クジ。ああ、俺に任せてくれ。
もう後がないぜ。よっしゃー、もらった。後がないのは貴様の方だ。仲間か。
貴様のような奴に大事な仲間がやられてたまるか。
助かったぜ君子。
おい、あんなロープみたいなの反則だろ。
いいえ、あれは武器ではありません。
というわけだ。好きにしろ。逃がすか。来たねえぞ、第11宇宙。
ヒット助けねえと。
今度こそ終わりだぜ。来たねえぞ、第11宇宙。
ヒット助けねえと。
今度こそ終わりだぜ。貴様、感謝しろよ、シャンパー。
親切の押し売りとか勘弁だし。
いいか、孫悟空。奴は俺の獲物。
ここだ。
スピードとパワーを最大限に上げたようですね。
俺様の気弾を払いのけるとはさすがだな。ゴミをまき散らしたな。触れると爆発するのか。そのとおり、今楽にしてやる。衝撃波か。
地雷原をすり抜け君主を吹っ飛ばしたらと。
ざまあみろ、第11宇宙。ヒットには栗があるんだ。孫悟空、交代だ。なんだヒットやる。
さすがはヒットだ。
気をつけろ。 奴の周りには関係ねえ。デカめが安い。今度は吹き飛ばすか。そうだ、耳を澄ませ、よーく聞くんだ。もう勝負はついている。立てないなら立たせる。もう勝負はついている。立てないなら立たせてやる。プライド取るはずの一緒に。すぐにリベンジしてやるぜ。
もういい。ヒーローごっこはやめだ。
あのディスポっていうやつが回復したら今度はオラが倒す。
好きにしろ。
あと何人残ってる？よいつむいっぱいいっぱい。
なかなか面白い戦い方をするようじゃな。
おじいちゃんのくせに素早いじゃない。
お主の力ではわしに勝てんぞ。
はあ、私のもう一つの得意技も知ってるかしら。
そんなもん聞くわけが。ビビってるし。もっと
いらっしゃい。
もっと
エロじじい。
ひょひょ、危ない危ない。
そんなわしが煩悩を封じた、その意味がわかるか。マグマのごとくたぎってやるのじゃ。お主どうなっても知らんぞ。
お前
やるじゃないか。
演技に決まってるじゃないですか。
その調子でいけ、じいさん。
お主が相手をしてくれるのかな。第四宇宙の札術使い。
なめられたものだな。ただの幻だ。お前に見切れるかな。
なんと
捕まえた。もはやそこからは一歩も動けんぞ。影の中なら私は最強だ。
だからこそお主の相手がわし
Oh,
で
it
よ
looks
かっ
like
た。
that same dude.
絡め手を使う敵には足元を救われかねん。わしの役目というわけじゃ。マフー。おい、これで2人目。
反則だ。あのジジイは試合に道具を持ち込んだ。
それを言うならお前んとこの選手だって札を武器にしてるだろ。
あれは木だ。
セーフだし、セーフ。
セーフ
はい。イエイ、ピースピース。
セーフだし、セーフ。
セーフ
衆はみんなわしに倒されたいのか。
この老いぼれが
変身か。
変身した。大きくなった。レベルアップ。
ぶつくなく怒りにとらわれすぎた。なぜ当たらねえ。
変身しても戦い方は変わっておらん。
断ち切れグランアドラー。おい
経験はわしが上。これで3人目。
まだだ。まだ終わってない。
まずい。成長ってやつさ。
師匠の心配しとる場合か。
スタミナ切れのようだな、じいさん。自分も攻撃して5分前の俺ならやられていたところだったぜ。
なんとじいさんにしては頑張ったな。
まだ立ち上がるのか。
クソくらいじゃ。
ちっちゃん無理すんな。無限ロイ様
やらせるか。
我が弟子たちよ、人生を面白おかしく張り切って過ごせ。これが最大最強のカメハメ。
ガノスよくやったじいさん。
無限ロイ様
ダメです。部部隊へは戻れません。
ちっちゃん、戻ってこい。悟空起きてくれ。ちっちゃん。ちっちゃん生き切ったか。
ピチピチの天使たちはどこ行った。
ちっちゃん
よかった
Valentine's Day is probably one of the worst holidays in the world, because Valentine's Day, it pretty much sucks all the way, and it just makes me very angry.
He obsessively documented both positive and negative interactions he had with girls in the real world. The most infamous of these early videos was Alex's video entitled "I Got Hugged by a Girl." In this video, he delightfully reveals to his viewers that he got hugged by his female cousin. It was a groundbreaking accomplishment for him.
I want to tell you something that happened to me today. I got hugged by a girl. She is pretty hot, might I add. She was my cousin, and she wanted a hug, so I just hugged her. And I'm just getting luckier and luckier with girls every day.
Unsurprisingly, this ridiculous video actually ended up going viral on YouTube and brought Zayzev some new followers in the process. These newfound followers found this kid interesting. Many were unsure if Zayzev was genuine or if he was trolling in his video for comedic effect. Whatever the case, he came off as this lovable nerd that folks just couldn't help but root for, kind of like a McLovin type character, if you know what I'm saying. Viewers wanted Alex to score and get a girlfriend, so they stuck around to watch his future efforts at doing exactly that.
And then I just tapped her on the shoulder a little bit, you know, a little playful tap. And then what happened was she said, "Oh, don't touch me." And then with her water bottle, she spilled the water on me, and I was all wet, and everything was wet, even my camera was wet. Yeah, I guess I can't really get a good girlfriend now.
Around the time of Alex finishing high school, around 2013, he began to talk less about RuneScape and almost exclusively discussed his interactions with girls on his second YouTube
Here I am
channel,
playing
Zayzev.
RuneScape.
And this is where stuff begins to get weirder and the lines between genuine and trolling really start to blur. In videos like "She Didn't Want to Be My Valentine" and "I Poked Her and She Deleted Me," Alex can be seen clearly engaging in some self-deprecating humor here, making fun of himself for not being able to get a girlfriend, sort of brushing it off as this funny thing. He did this by making up fake stories about getting rejected and seemingly playing into the viewer's notion that he was a creep for comedic effect.
Hi, I'm pretty sure you already noticed, but I don't have a Valentine yet. I saw this girl, and I came up to her, and then I said, "Hey, you want to be my Valentine?" And then she was just laughing at me, and she laughed at me, and she said, "No." "What? Come back here, please." And then she came back here, and then I got out my knife, and I stabbed her in her boob. When a girl talks to me, my heart, it goes like, yeah, yes.
Zayzev constantly seemed to shift from comedic troll to socially inept weirdo. It was extremely difficult to pin down the exact truth behind this persona that was being presented. And as he got older and more brazen in his videos, the lines blurred even further and his true emotions even more obfuscated. In 2014, Alex created a prank series on his channel that heavily played into the theme of him being an incel. These pranks would involve him going out in public and filming himself asking women out, with pickup lines submitted by his own comment section. While at times funny, these pranks more often than not came off as uncomfortably weird and at times harassment.
I almost raped a girl in 6 Flags because she hugged me. Is your mom single? I like older women.
Oh, good for you.
Oh, is she single?
No.
Okay. You give my rocket power.
What's that?
My rocket tower?
Okay, what does that mean?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
And why don't you know?
I don't know. It just means something.
It means something that you and your buddies have an inside joke on?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Alright. I just have one question. Can I Squirtle on them Jigglypuffs?
What?
Can I Squirtle on them Jigglypuffs?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like, do you have Jigglypuffs I can Squirtle on?
No.
I've lost my virginity. Can I have yours?
No.
Okay.
But just when Alex had you thinking he was a full-blown weirdo with these catcalling videos, he would upload some sort of self-aware, self-deprecating video to his channel that would lead you back to thinking that this whole persona he was playing was an act. a troll or some sort of bit of satire. Like, the guy had a running joke of comparing himself to Elliot Rodger, and he made various other incel jokes about himself. He had to be self-aware to some extent, right?
Hi, I'm pretty sure you already know this, but my name is DBZ Rogers.
Elaborate, troll, or genuine, the answer to that question would remain ambiguous for some time.
Basically, I don't have a date for Valentine's yet, so will you be my girlfriend?
No.
There you go. Thank you.
Well, now I'm back home. That did not go very good, but I'm not giving up. I'm not gonna give up, cause that was just my first time ever, so I'm just gonna keep trying, you know? It gets better with practice.
In 2016, Zayzef's bizarre antics caught the attention of Leafy Is Here, the mega popular reaction commentator from the time. Leafy would initially mock Zayzef in his video, The Most Savage Man on the Entire Internet.
I'm pretty sure you already know this, but I'm getting ready to start my weekly tradition again of asking a girl out every single week.
What is up with these fucking dudes that always feel the need to be like fucking 2 inches away from their camera?
This video not only made fun of Zayzef, but brought thousands of new subscribers to his channel in the process. Followers initially sent by Leafy came to hate on Zayzef, but they ended up sticking around, wanting to keep up with the antics of this self-admitted incel YouTuber.
I work out, so Leafy, do you want some of this? I've been working out for the past year and a half by now, and like I work out and I go and talk to girls. Leafy doesn't do any of those things, so.
After a brief back and forth between Zayzef and Leafy, Zayzef would double down and continue with his pickup line videos and became more brazen with other prank videos where he runs into businesses while loudly yelling in a blatant effort to disturb the peace and piss people off.
Where are you? Hurry me on! Cool! Hey.
The fuck is wrong with this guy?
But behind all the spectacle involved with the pranking and trolling, there was an ever-present frustration in Alex. A frustration caused by his loneliness and inability to get a girlfriend. In 2018, Alex would create a somber video called The Truth About Me, in which he addressed these very issues.
I really am trying to get a girlfriend, guys. Like, it's hard. I never had a girlfriend before. To this day, I have never had a girlfriend before. And it's just hard for me, you know. I'm over here playing RuneScape right now on my computer. In case you didn't know, it's I don't know, man. It's a tough life. I'm just trying to make it in this world. RuneScape's all that I got right now. Just, you know, mining on RuneScape, and that's all I have.
At this point, Alex appeared desperate for a girlfriend, like desperate to where it was really causing him a lot of mental anguish. Hell, he even made a video on his Zayzef channel essentially begging girls to message him on Instagram if they were interested in meeting up with him in real life.
But have you ever wanted to be my girlfriend? Well, now's your chance. So send me a direct message, and then with your application, make sure you include your the city you live in, or the state and city you live in, or just the city, or just the state, just so I know where you live.
Alright,
and
maybe I should go.
I'm not stalking you, but just so I know if you can like meet up in real life and then like be an actual boyfriend and girlfriend, because in the end that's the best one. So yeah, so do it now.
It's just kind of sus, you know? Alex's documentation of himself trying to get a girlfriend started off as this innocuous sort of experiment that people were willing to support. But as he got older and the failures compounded on themselves, it morphed into something more akin to a creepy obsession. And unfortunately, you'll soon find that a series of events would unfold that revealed Zayzef was apparently willing to go to disturbing lengths in his quest for female companionship. In 2018, Zayzef began actively live streaming his efforts to pick up girls in his local area on YouTube. These disruptive live streams ended up getting the attention of the local police. In a video uploaded on April 17th of 2018 called "I Got Swatted by the Police," Zayzef suggested that law enforcement was actually investigating him under grounds of sexual harassment, even saying that they showed up to his house and went through his internet browsing history.
Yesterday I got swatted by the cops because of my live streams. They knocked on my door, asked me what am I doing with my live streams, and they told me I can't be sexually harassing girls and stuff. They said that I can get arrested for what I'm doing. I never sexually harassed anyone. They looked through my computer, they looked through my phone, and they looked through my iPod Touch, and they were asking me, what kind of porn do I watch? Do you have any rape fantasies and stuff? So they were trying to like make me go to jail for like having rape fantasies. I don't even have rape fantasies, okay? I respect women. Just because I watched a video on Pornhub where a girl got forced by a bunch of guys does not mean I have rape fantasies. They're trying to do all that they can to make me stop making live streams, but I don't think I'm gonna stop, okay? Because I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything illegal, and they know that, because if I was, they would have arrested me.
While somewhat shaken, Zayzef appears to shrug off law enforcement's interest into his activities, and he would continue to live stream and make unwanted advances on women throughout the month of April. But in May, these streams from Zayzef stopped, and he seemingly vanished from the internet out of nowhere. Why? Well, Zayzef got arrested. This arrest would not only end the Zayzef antics on YouTube, but forever change the way the internet looked at this once innocuous incel.
And is arrested after trying to meet up with a 13-year-old girl for sexual activity. The two met over social media, but little did he know he was actually meeting up with an undercover Roseville police officer.
Roseville police confirm a tip about this popular YouTube channel where they say it appears a man makes sexually inappropriate comments to multiple young girls, sparked an undercover operation.
That was one of the pieces that led us into starting a further investigation on this individual.
He says Rudenko made plans online to meet a 13-year-old girl in person for sex. But when he arrived at the agreed meeting spot, he found out that 13-year-old girl was really an undercover detective.
This individual obviously had something in mind that he was trying to meet underage girls for sexual activity.
Yep, apparently Zayzef was arrested for messaging and attempting to meet up with a minor that he had contacted on social media. This alleged meetup resulted in him falling right into a police sting operation and getting a felony sex offense charge in the process. It's a situation not all too different than what we saw in the EDP 445 case. The only thing different about this is there were actual police involved and there was actually an arrest. This was quite the shocking turn of events. Yes, Alex often came off as desperate for female attention, but many people at the time had just played all of this off as it was him trolling. And the people that did think he was desperate for real, they didn't think he was this desperate. YouTube comments from the time show reactions from former fans, with some suggesting that it was bound to happen sooner or later, some expressing just general disappointment, and others memeing on the situation. In the wake of the arrest and charges, Alex was jailed, given 4 years probation, and had to register as a sex offender.
Oh, fucking showbuster.
Nobody would have new updates about Zayzef until 2019. This is an alleged correspondence with Zayzef that has been shared to the internet from an anonymous fan. What happened, man? You good? Cops set me up. Been in jail for a year. Gotta register for life and probation for 4 years. Damn. How long have you been out? Is the channel done? Looks like it's done. The probation officer recommended I delete Instagram and YouTube so I don't accidentally talk to anyone under 18. So you're allowed social media still? Yeah, but he said they shouldn't have allowed that. But it is allowed, and I'm not really going to use it in case I accidentally talk to an underage person. You going to upload any kind of update before the channel goes, or no? I'm just going to keep the channel live as a piece of history. And consistent with that last message, the Zayzef channel is still live, yet dormant. The last activity being a post that was uploaded days before Zayzef's fateful arrest in May of 2018. Zayzef is still around on YouTube though, in a limited capacity. On the channel Zayzef Live, Alex has a handful of streams where he plays Duel Links and RuneScape, providing virtually no commentary in these streams. It's a shell of what Zayzef was back in those pickup line prank days, and perhaps that's for the better. The story of Zayzef truly is one of YouTube's least talked about tragedies in my view. Alex was a uniquely entertaining YouTuber. He was goofy yet likable, a true underdog trying to achieve the goal of getting a girlfriend. It's not only a funny channel concept, but it's a cause that anybody can root for. Everybody wants the nerd to, get a girl and be happy. But as time went on, it appears to me that this was less of a joke and more of a creepy obsession that was influencing Alex's questionable activities both on camera and behind the scenes. It would be disingenuous to say that Alex wasn't trolling at times, but I think he was often more serious when talking about his personal struggles in videos than many assume. Alex was a troubled guy that needed help, and unfortunately, it appears that nobody around him was able to intervene.
If you're like a girl viewer of mine, then please add me, because I just wanted to maybe talk to you, and maybe if you live in my area you can come visit me, we can be friends.
And that, my friends, was the tragic downfall of Zayzef. Let me know what you guys thought about this video down below in the comments section, slap like on the video, and of course let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace. For most people, Reddit is simply a website used to kill time, watch funny videos, and post memes. But for some of its more inquisitive users, the site has long been a rendezvous point for armchair internet investigators. Amateur detectives collaborating together to solve internet mysteries and real-world crimes. And there have actually been some examples of Reddit detectives being successful in this regard. But unfortunately, their more monumental screw-ups overshadow these fleeting successes. And the failures are what we're going to be talking about today. From accusing a YouTuber of kidnapping a 15-year-old girl, to harassing a daycare center under suspicion of it being a meth lab, to falsely accusing an Ivy League college student of committing a heinous bombing attack, this is what happens when Reddit gets it wrong. Today's video is sponsored by Bespoke Post. Bespoke is a monthly membership club that ships you top-shelf items at a discount. Quality items produced by small businesses around the U.S., like this incredibly handy hatchet from Bare Bones in Bespoke Split Box. With a head made from blackened high-carbon steel and a weighty beechwood handle, this hatchet has all of your wood-cutting needs covered. Bespoke will gauge your preferences and match you up with the box using their online quiz. If you like the match you get, that's great, go ahead. But if you don't like it, you can swap it out for another. Each month you'll get a new box with the option to skip months at no additional charge. And you're getting a huge value here, with each box having about $70 worth of product, and the subscription cost is far less. Here are some more of Bespoke's boxes to check out. This Buck and Bear Karambit knife comes in the claw box. This blade will cut through just about anything you throw at it. It's visually stunning and has a solid grippy handle, giving great control for your daily cutting needs. And there's no better position to enjoy a campfire than the seat of this compact camping chair from Bespoke's Parked box. Kick back and relax for a bit, and when it's time to go, the chair can be folded up to about the size of a water bottle and stowed. Great for hiking and camping. To get 20% off your first box, click the link in the description and enter code WAVY20 at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/wavy20. Our first Reddit Gets It Wrong example resulted in a YouTuber getting harassed, law enforcement resources wasted, and the family of a missing girl given false hope. On October 11th of 2009, a YouTuber going by the name Patrick uploaded a video to his YouTube channel called Hi Walter, I Got a New Girlfriend Today. The video begins innocuously enough with Patrick addressing this unknown Walter individual, explaining that he met a girl at the mall today.
Hi Walter, I was at the mall today and guess what happened? I met the most wonderful girl. We went shopping at JCPenney's and she tried on a lot of clothes. We decided to go and take a look at some of the jewelry at K Jewelers, and she picked out this most awesome necklace, the most amazing necklace I've ever seen. And then we got kind of tired of the mall and I brought her back to my place.
Kind of weird, but nothing crazy. That changes around the 30-second mark when the video takes an extremely dark turn.
I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyways. You ready?
So yes, Patrick just appeared to show a kidnapped woman in his closet screaming for help. Definitely kinda sus. Despite the shocking nature of this video, it went mostly unnoticed by the YouTube community for years, the implications of its existence unexplored. But that would change in the summer of 2016. Likely due to an alteration in YouTube's algorithm, Hi Walter slowly began to find itself in recommended video sections. Interest in the video grew, and the disturbing footage was being discussed on forums like Reddit and 4chan's paranormal board. Some believe that Patrick was actually an at-large serial killer slash kidnapper, and he posted this video to fulfill some sadistic pleasure, bragging about his latest victim.
I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyways. You ready?
Whatever the case was, normal board. Some believe that Patrick was actually an at-large serial killer slash kidnapper, and he posted this video to fulfill some sadistic pleasure, bragging about his latest victim.
I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyways. You ready?
Whatever the case was with this video, you could bet your bottom dollar that Reddit's armchair detectives were already hot on the case, busting out their fedoras and magnifying glasses, examining every detail of the video to try to solve this mystery. Patrick's YouTube channel itself held few clues in regard to the identity of Patrick or the girl in the video. But after scouring through missing persons databases on the internet, Redditors found a possible match for the girl featured. They claimed that she was a missing 15-year-old girl from Antigua, Wisconsin named Kayla Berg. Kayla had gone missing years prior in August of 2009 after being dropped off by a friend in the neighboring town of Wausau, Wisconsin. Online sleuths had made this connection by way of circumstantial evidence presented in the Hi Walter video itself. The first observation was that the date of Kayla's disappearance and Hi Walter's upload date are curiously close in proximity, with only about 2 months separating the two incidents. Perhaps this video was Patrick's way of bragging about his recent catch. Reddit, accompanied by Imgur, brought some more chilling evidence to the table. When one simply compares side-by-side images of Kayla and the kidnapped girl in the Hi Walter video, the two certainly share a resemblance as far as hair color and their face. Some were even reporting that the kidnapped girl in the video was wearing the same clothes that Kayla was when she went missing. Another creepy discovery made by Redditors was that the two stores that Patrick mentions taking the girl in his video, JCPenney's and K Jewelers.
We went shopping at JCPenney's and take a look at some of the jewelry at K Jewelers.
Well, those stores happened to be present in the Wausau, Wisconsin mall, the town in which Kayla Berg went missing. A thread compiling all of this circumstantial evidence was published to Imgur and was widely shared around Reddit's investigative subreddits like Unsolved Mystery. And with this easy-to-reference Imgur guide, the Hi Walter Kayla Berg theory wound up going viral on the greater internet. And if you were around at the time, it really did feel like Reddit and Imgur had uncovered critical evidence that could lead to the arrest of an at-large criminal and the possible rescue of a kidnapped girl. The Hi Walter video was submitted to the Antigua, Wisconsin Police Department, which then promptly launched an investigation under suspicion of the video possibly being in connection to the disappearance of Kayla Berg. Kayla's family was also shown the video, with her mother reportedly being convinced that the girl in the Hi Walter video was her daughter. After some time, it was discovered by Daily Mail journalists that Patrick was using a pseudonym. His real name was Michael, and he resided in upstate New York. Journalists would uncover his address, and not long after, ambush photos of Michael, aka Patrick, began popping up on the internet. So they had found this would-be perpetrator. It seemed as if the case was moments away from being cracked. Reddit and the rest of the internet was on the edge of their seats, waiting, hoping for some sort of police raid that would lead to the arrest of Patrick and the freeing of Kayla Berg from the apparent basement dungeon that she was being kept in that video. But that raid would never happen because Patrick, he was an innocent man. And the High Walter video was a hoax that had absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance of Kayla Berg. On October 11th of 2016, the Antigo Police Department announced the following. The Antigo Police Department has been investigating the High Walter It's Patrick I Have a New Girlfriend video that was on YouTube.com. The Antigo Police, with the help of another enforcement agency, has been able to identify that this video was 100% fake and was a video that was produced to be placed on YouTube. The Antigo Police Department has identified the video producer / cameraman, actor, and actress in the video. This video has no connection to the disappearance of Kayla Berg. Turns out the High Walter video was nothing more than a horror hoax project, with Patrick being played by Michael and the kidnapped girl being played by an actress named Lucy Cavo. These two individuals, along with producer Devin Wolf, had created prior YouTube content under the name 2150 Studios. These individuals had no knowledge of the disappearance of Kayla Berg while producing High Walter and only intended to create online intrigue with their video. Any similarities were coincidental. Reddit and Imgur got whipped up into a frenzy and really screwed up big time here, falsely accusing people of crimes and causing damages in the process. Thanks to the attention granted to the High Walter creators by Reddit, the media became hyper-fixated on these guys, considering them literal pieces of shit for creating something like this. They framed the High Walter creators as these sick and twisted individuals. While indeed disturbing, the content in this video is nothing crazier than what you would find in your run-of-the-mill horror movie. I mean, what are we gonna call like John Carpenter a psychopath for creating the Halloween series? I think the High Walter creators had the unfortunate position of being one of the first to have a real popular sort of horror hoax video go viral. Reddit's investigation not only led to false accusations being lobbed at the 2150 Studios actors, but it also led to the family of a missing girl's hopes being gassed up for nothing.
Like a lot of people, Kayla Berg's mother was convinced that the girl in the video was her missing daughter.
Completely sickens me that someone would even think of doing something like this, just for fun.
While these online amateur investigators certainly had good intentions, the High Walter case demonstrates the Reddit community's susceptibility to hoaxes and how their coordinated crime-solving efforts and reliability on circumstantial evidence can often lead to false allegations and slanderous claims being levied at innocent people. 2150 Studios would never make content again together, and Kayla Berg is still missing to this day. Other Salt Lake City Redditors took to the thread to explain they were familiar with the place and it also gave them an uncomfortable feeling. I once saw a picture from the 1983 Salt Lake City flood. The picture was of some kids standing across the street from this place. It looked exactly the same then. We live nearby and my kids call it the scary house. In the 10 years I've lived in this neighborhood, I have never seen anyone come in or out of that place. Totally creepy. I call that the creepy pedophile daycare. It is silent and the small windows are covered. It's just too brightly colored. It's definitely a creepy place. Users noted that all the windows of the daycare were obfuscated with blinds and the building itself emanated an unusually dark aura. Folks in the thread felt like something was up with this place. Many in the thread suggested that Funtime Kids Care wasn't a daycare at all, and in fact was some sort of money laundering scheme, a government operation, a meth lab, or at worst, a child trafficking ring. One Redditor says, if it's a government operation, they're doing a pretty poor job of flying under the radar. Sounds like the government, and we're all on a list now. Perhaps the obsession with Funtime Kids Care would have died out in the coming days, but an ominous comment left by user Deathship ensured that wasn't going to be the case. I'm going to advise you guys to stop looking into this place. This ominous commenter's post history was promptly looked into and only served to embolden those who felt that Funtime Kids Care was a massive cover-up. Check his comment history. Linguist for the Air Force, been stationed at Area 51 and occasionally hangs out in the conspiracy theory subs, questionably discharged. Redditors were beginning to believe that they had uncovered something big and that this was the powers that be trying to scare them off. But no, these neckbeard detectives wouldn't be deterred. They went all in on trying to blow the lid off this apparent criminal operation. The Funtime Kids Care phone number was spammed in the coming days with calls. Nobody seemed to be getting through, but it became clear the daycare knew they were being looked into as their website was taken down not long after the call started. Some Redditors even claimed to have gone to the site in person and peeked into the windows to investigate the building after hours. One 4chan user provably did this, sharing photos of the inside of the building that they had snapped to the image board. And well, what they found on the inside was honestly unremarkable. It kind of looked like a daycare. Expecting to see something resembling Walter White's underground meth lab or a government numbers station, folks on the thread were slightly disappointed when nothing strange was found inside of the building. And then more bad news for the Reddit started trickling in. Other photos began to surface which showed kids playing at the daycare's playground, proving that children were in fact present at the facility during certain times of day. And with that, the sobering reality that they might have just harassed and spied on a legit daycare center, that started to set in for these Redditors. Dissenting voices that insisted the daycare was legit all along stopped looking like government ops spreading misinformation. They were the voices of reason the entire time. Turns out, when looking at Funtime Kids Care without being introduced to it via this ominous Reddit post, it's really not all that scary. It's just a daycare with weird windows and a wacky paint job. I mean, who are the real creeps here? The folks behind the weird-looking Dayglow-colored child care center? Or is it the guys from 4chan and Reddit that went to a place known for safeguarding children and peeked through the windows and took photos of it? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Reddit's obsession with this daycare actually had negative ramifications for the business, with the Google reviews being filled with trolls leaving bad reviews and defamatory claims regarding the daycare's safety. Additionally, according to a report by the Salt Lake City Globe, a supervisor at Salt Lake City's child care licensing department had stated that folks had attempted to break into the Funtime Kids Care building in the time since Reddit's obsession. This attempted break-in forced the owner to purchase additional security equipment such as a camera and deadbolt locks. While things have calmed down in recent years, I would imagine this whole ordeal was quite stressful for the daycare owner. According to public records, Funtime Kids Care has passed inspection and maintains child care licensure to this day. The daycare is completely safe and always has been. The original Reddit thread that hosted the investigation into this business has now been wiped clean. The barren thread, an embarrassing reminder of yet another of Reddit's destructive armchair investigations.
This grainy photo may be the only clue to finding missing Brown University student Sunil Tripathi. Police believe this new image from a surveillance camera shows the 22-year-old just moments after leaving his campus apartment. Police say he left behind his wallet and phone.
There's typically two reasons people don't take the normal things they take with them. Is because they're stepping outside to talk to somebody, they're going a half a block away, or they're not coming back.
The family also created a Facebook page dedicated to sourcing clues about his disappearance in the hopes that someone would come forward with information regarding his whereabouts. Fast forward about a month later to April 15th of 2013. At approximately 2:53 Eastern, 2 homemade pressure cooker bombs are detonated near the finish line at the Boston Marathon. 3 people are killed by the blast, 264 are injured. It was a cowardly attack, and as soon as the smoke cleared, the FBI began a thorough and meticulous investigation trying to track down the perpetrators. And this is where Reddit comes into play. Frustrated with the seemingly slow pace of the FBI's investigation, Redditors took this matter into their own hands. It was a hunt for suspects taking place on the newly created Find Boston Bombers subreddit. This forum was essentially a hub for amateur crime solvers to come and dump evidence pertaining to the crime and theorize possible suspects for the bombing. Much of the activity on this page involved Redditors scanning over blurry and grainy images that were taken from the Boston Marathon in an attempt to find a suspect, looking for any sort of suspicious individuals. And generally speaking, for these Redditors, suspicious means anyone wearing a backpack or anyone looking vaguely foreign. Many possible perpetrators were identified, but no real consensus was made. In all honesty, it was a giant mess. That was until 3 days after the attack. On April 18th at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, the FBI revealed photos of the two suspects believed to be responsible for Boston. The FBI was requesting the help of the public in identifying these individuals. Now, with an established goal in the FBI publishing confirmed images of the suspects, the Redditors got to work scouring the internet for possible identity matches. And after some searching, the subreddit found one individual they were certain was suspect number 2, the man wearing the white hat. According to Reddit, this person was none other than 22-year-old Sunil Tripathi, the young Indian American who had gone missing a month prior. They thought the evidence was irrefutable. Sunil going missing just a month ago? He must have been plotting the attack during this time, they thought. Hell, after all, he wasn't far away from Boston, geographically speaking, with him being in Rhode Island. And of course, there's the physical similarities, they said. Redditors claimed this was the same guy. To them, it was an open and shut case. So word would spread around the greater internet that suspect number 2 was none other than Sunil Tripathi. The accusation went absolutely viral, so much so that it actually reached Sunil's family. They were flabbergasted by the accusation, deeming an act like this being perpetrated by Sunil unthinkable. They adamantly stated that the man in the photos and videos from the marathon was not Sunil and that this was just a massive misunderstanding. But Reddit wasn't having any of it, and users continued to harass the family and associate Sunil's name with this horrific crime, even going as far as raiding the Facebook page set up for finding Sunil when he went missing. This page led to people getting contact information of the Tripathi family. Sunil's sister claimed she answered close to 58 calls from anonymous detractors, almost all of which were accusing her brother of being responsible for the bombing. She just kept answering out of fear of missing a call from her brother. But in the minds of Redditors, all of this was justified. After all, their family member was a heinous criminal and they had cracked the case. "We did it, Reddit," the online detectives proclaimed. The only problem is, though, they didn't do anything. In fact, they screwed up massively. A blunder of unprecedented proportions. As on April 19th, thanks to documents found in the bombing suspect's getaway vehicle, the FBI was able to correctly identify the suspects as brothers, Tamerlan and Johar Tsarnaev, one of which would be killed by police and the other would be taken into custody after found hiding inside of a boat in a Watertown man's backyard. The true criminals had been found. Sunil had nothing to do with this crime, and him and his family were essentially defamed by Reddit in the process of them trying to play detective. The family was already dealing with the grief of Sunil going missing, and now his name was thrown in the mud.
His name was linked in the last week to the Boston bombings without any reason whatsoever. He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it was incredibly painful for our family. This was coming at a time after 34 days of pain in our family and worry, and we, knew unconvincingly that this was not Sunil, and it was just very difficult to have the events of that night unfold so aggressively with language that was not based on any actual evidence at all.
We as a family received literally hundreds of phone calls, and it was very, as well as watching our Facebook page that we've been helping coordinate our search, just get plastered with these baseless allegations.
It was a truly unfair hand dealt to the Tripathi family. This story becomes even more tragic days later on April 23rd of 2013. Just 4 days after the hunt for the bombers had concluded, a body was discovered in the Seekonk River, a large body of water approximately 2 miles east of Brown University. The body was decomposed and was only identifiable using dental records. Turns out, it was none other than 22-year-old Sunil Tripathi. It was later determined that Sunil died by drowning, an apparent victim of the depressive bouts that his family alluded to when Sunil went missing. It was closure for the Tripathi family, but not the outcome they had hoped for. Redditors had accused Sunil of the most heinous of crimes when he wasn't even likely alive at the time of the attack. Reddit administrators, realizing the harm they had caused, banned the subreddit responsible for spreading the accusation, and Reddit would issue a statement emphasizing the dangers of online witch hunts and apologizing to the Tripathi family. As the years have passed, the Tripathi family learned to cope with what had happened to them. They keep Sunil close in their hearts and his memory strong. This terrible situation will likely remain as the ultimate example, the cautionary tale warning those who want to get involved in these sort of online collaborative investigations. Tens of thousands of individuals with zero knowledge of journalistic ethics or how to diligently research and report information, role-playing as FBI agents. Generally speaking, it doesn't end well. I really hope this remains the last immense fuck-up Redditors make, but this sort of collective vigilantism seems to be part of the DNA of the site. Hell, I'd say it's inherent to the greater internet as well. I reckon we'll just have to wait and see who screws up next. But that, my friends, were the times Reddit got it wrong. If you like this video, and if you have a spicy comment to leave, just drop it down.
We're about to go to bed, grab Super 2023. They may have just accidentally leaked Dragon Ball Super in 2023 by putting 2023 Dragon Ball Super Production Committee under the copyright. So now we know the date of a potential Dragon Ball Super anime in 2023, but that isn't where this story stops. Anime AJ, an unlikely leaker who doesn't really name his sources or how he knows any of this stuff, because he's usually not the type to leak any information, but he goes online and he's a respected source of anime and animation news in the community. He posts that there is a web series in 2023 currently in pre-production, nothing animated yet, meaning to me that more than likely we're going to be getting the Dragon Ball Super project from 2023 at the end of 2023, because if nothing is animated yet, then they really have nothing to go on. They probably will start animating by early next year, and then we'll be getting some episodes by the end. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I could be completely wrong. But look how he says web series. This is something that has been announced by several news sources, that the second Dragon Ball Super project that's coming out is not the anime for TV. Right now for TV, there is nothing in production yet. They have not even started on the production for Dragon Ball Super's return, Dragon Ball Super 2. I'm going to call it Dragon Ball Super 2 for this video. They have not started that yet. This new series is called a web series for 2023 that is going to be put online, probably Crunchyroll, probably Funimation, and it's probably intended to be cast across the entire internet for anybody to watch, for all different countries to watch, well, and it's subtitled, because the way that they have Dragon Ball Super now, it's a little bit harder to get a hold of it. Even with the movie that just came out, it's kind of hard to watch it if you're somewhere else. One thing he wanted to 100% enforce is that nobody from One Piece, at least that he knows, is going to be working on the series. And he also says that Super Dragon Ball Heroes is a series commissioned by Shueisha. Nobody inside Toei really cares about the series. Usually web series have high production quality, so if you think that it's going to be like Dragon Ball Heroes, then you are wrong. I don't think it's going to be like Dragon Ball Heroes in terms of quality. I really do think that this thing is going to be popped off with some of the most high level talents that we've had in Dragon Ball Super. Think like that Super animation that came out for that special event a few years back. I feel like that is what we're going to be getting more than likely. Shintani return with a couple other artists. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. But with Dragon Ball Super returning in 2023, I kind of want to give you guys my take as to what this series is going to be, because everyone's asking, is it going to be a continuation of Dragon Ball Super? Is it going to be a spin-off? What is it going to be? There is something that I would think that they may animate, and it actually wouldn't even be that hard and wouldn't be that difficult, because they already have the blueprint to animate, and that is the actual Dragon Ball Super manga. So think of it this way: Full Metal Alchemist came out, and before the manga was actually finished, they started making up new episodes and they started making up new storylines, and they didn't really finish it in a positive sense. And so they created Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which had a dedicated team behind it, and it was basically manga centric. Every story and plot point from the manga that had just finished was in that animation. So if they decide, let's go ahead and make this web series, the Dragon Ball Super manga, animated, I think that that's kind of a way that they could have their cake and eat it too. They can make the Dragon Ball Super anime a continuation, a universe all on its own, while at the same time having the Dragon Ball Super manga animated, animating the stories from the manga that we didn't really get to see in animation format because, you know, the manga and the anime are completely different. But a lot of people in the know right now in the Dragon Ball Super community, they feel like there's going to be an announcement soon, any day now, any week now, in September. So we probably won't have to wait that long to find out what this new web series is going to be, and that will tell us what the actual anime is going to be, because if it's a continuation of the Dragon Ball Super anime in this web series or a spin-off, that could be huge for what the actual anime is going to be when it comes out on TV. But if it's something like this where it's like, say, the manga animated, that would be really cool. I would love to see that, honestly. That'd be really interesting. But let me know what your thoughts are and what you think the web series is going to be. This is going to be Blackscape signing off. Take care, guys.
Subscribe for more content.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? What is up? Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video from your boy, Mr. Bald Tweak. So, lads, sorry I haven't really been uploading too much recently. We've had a lot of stuff going on between, like, the subathon, and then some of you might have seen, if you're following my socials, that we actually just got granted our visas to the US. So we're actually going to be heading over to the US soon, sometime within the next couple of months. And we're going to be streaming from there and doing content with the guys over in San Antonio. And it's really awesome. And I just want to give a quick thank you to you guys, because if it wasn't for you guys are a big part of the reason why we can even do this in the first place. So thank you guys very much. It's very exciting, and there'll be a lot more content over there, some gun content, some IRL stuff. We've got a bunch of other cool videos planned as well. So guys, if you want to see all that, make sure you subscribe. But with all of that being said, let's get into today's topic. So lads, there's been a lot of complaining, sort of people kind of sick of Tarkov, and a lot of streamers, people have noticed, have been taking a pretty long break from Tarkov. I myself, I took a damn near like 3-week long break from Tarkov during my subathon. I played Tarkov for a total of maybe like 5 or 6 hours throughout the entire thing, and then we just did a bunch of other games. We did variety stuff, and today we're going to talk about kind of why that is and why we're sort of seeing this happening with EFT at the moment. So when the last wipe happened, we got the Lighthouse expansion, okay? We got a couple of new guns, and that was kind of it. You know, we got performance things, we got a couple of different things with like inertia, and, you know, some other mechanics were changed here and there. The kappa requirements were changed, so now you have to do pretty much every quest in the game in order to get your kappa container, including some really annoying quests such as capturing outposts, which, in my opinion, is the worst quest in the entire game, because it just means you have to camp a certain location for damn near a week straight to get all your kills for it. And nobody wants to do that. It's really boring. Nobody wants to camp. Nobody wants to sit in one spot for, you know, really long periods of time. And then as the wipe goes on, it's going to make getting kills in those spots even harder as it goes. So, you know, it's kind of turned a lot of people off. There's a couple of other quests like that as well that people really don't want to do. And that in itself is kind of leaving people, I guess, goalless, because a lot of people who play Tarkov, their goal is to get the kappa container. Even before, when it was just, let's say, you know, get level 62 and complete most of the quests to get your kappa container. That, in my opinion, is like more achievable for people rather than doing all of the quests that include, you know, some really annoying things that people don't want to do, because they're not really that fun. Yes, you can grind it out, but, you know, for me personally, do I want to? God, no. I would absolutely, like, I wouldn't do capturing outposts. It's just, for me, it's just one of those quests. I find it really boring, and I don't want to do that, and I certainly don't want to stream it, because I feel like the content would just be really boring. It'd just be me sitting at the pier on Shoreline for a week. Other than that, right, this wipe, it's no secret to anybody that there's been a lot of cheaters. There's also been a lot of desync. The servers haven't really felt too great. Myself, I've not had that many issues with cheaters on daytime raids, but for me, I personally love doing nighttime raids. It's some of my favorite content to do in Tarkov. I love hunting for cultists. I love nighttime PvP because when you get into a fight with like a geared group or another geared player, the odds are that that guy's going to have GP NVGs on, which themselves are worth a lot of money. And they're also the nicest NVGs you can use in the game, so I like to collect those and I like to, you know, fight those players because at least there's always something to gain. Most people will always be running night visions, and at minimum, you're going to get a set of NVGs when you kill somebody. This wipe in particular, I've never had it as bad where I've been killed by cheaters on nighttime raids. I've had to change my servers super often, and it's getting to the point now where I just don't even want to do nighttime raids anymore because I know I'm just going to die to a cheater with like an expensive set of night visions on and probably a nice gun and nice ammo and all that. So that's really deterred me off doing what is probably my favorite activity to do in EFT. Which, you know, which really sucks. It's really demotivating and it makes me really sad because for those of you that watch, you know, that are watching this video that have never done nighttime raids before, nighttime raids are some of the best content in Tarkov in my opinion. The environment, the whole atmosphere, everything, it just feels so much different at nighttime. Yes, they're less populated raids, but when you do run into somebody, it's likely going to be a much more geared player, so it kind of makes the stakes even higher. Whereas running daytime raids, you can run into anybody. You can run into geared players, you can run into hatchlings, you can run into guys just running pistols or like, you know, low geared guys that are just trying to do their quests. Whereas on nighttime, most people are there looking for cultists, and these players are like in the end game trying to, you know, go for their cultist kills and run into anybody. You're going to be feels so much different at nighttime. Yes, there are less populated raids, but when you do run into somebody, it's likely going to be a much more geared player, so it kind of makes the stakes even higher. Whereas running daytime raids, you can run into anybody. You can run into geared players, you can run into hatchlings, you can run into guys just running pistols or like, you know, low geared guys that are just trying to do their quests. Whereas on nighttime, most people are there looking for cultists, and these players are like in the end game trying to, you know, go for their cultist kills and collect the cultist knives and stuff like that. So that's been one big reason for me why this wipe hasn't been so great. And another big reason for a lot of players that are taking a break this wipe is kind of the lack of content. Like, all we got was Lighthouse expansion. Now, is Lighthouse expansion cool? Yeah, it's sweet. Like, it's a really cool area. You can make great money over there. There's rogues over there that you can fight. And, you know, the PvP over there is pretty fun, too. There's a lot of different diverse situations you can get into there. And it's sweet. But that's kind of the main big thing that we've gotten this wipe. We've gotten, like, you know, 1/8 of a map. And not really too much else. We've got some new guns to play around with. You know, the new guns are kind of sweet. But other than that, I don't know, that's really it. I mean, the new scab boss is great too, if you can find them. If you want to spend, you know, multiple days just looking for them to spawn anywhere. You know, that's really it for like a lot of people. You know, you kill the new boss and you check out the Lighthouse expansion and, you know, that's pretty much it. Most of the guns aren't really worth mentioning too much. The RG704 people are saying is like one of the new best guns in the game. But for me, I don't even really like it that much. For me, the Mutant still reigns supreme. And, you know, that's it. The Mutant is still the meta gun that everybody still runs. That's about it. So this wipe, as far as content is gone, there isn't really that much to cover, and there's not really that much to do other than just, you know, do your quests, grind your account up to max traders, and then it's kind of it. You know, there's not really anything else worth grinding for. So what everybody's doing right now is we're pretty much just waiting for, you know, Lightkeeper, right? We're waiting for the in-raid trader, which we were supposed to have by the end of the summer, and as of today, this is the 3rd of September, so summer is now officially over. Like, summer's over. September is basically the start of, you know, our next season. And I think at this point, we're probably going to end up waiting until Christmas to get our next wipe. And I would also assume that that is when we're hopefully, and I mean really hopefully, going to get the first part of Streets of Tarkov. Because that's what a lot of people are waiting for to come back. Everybody's waiting for Streets. And also everybody's waiting for our first in-raid trader, which is going to be Lightkeeper. Now, I could be wrong about this, and hopefully we get it sometime before the next wipe, because if we don't, it's going to be probably a pretty boring couple of months. And for myself, I'm probably just going to end up playing a lot of other stuff. Like, I've been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown recently, which has been super, super fun. The Marauders beta? Alpha? The beta is coming out, I think, this month, and then I think they're actually launching the game in October. So I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Marauders too. That game's really fun as well, while we're waiting for EFT content, along with probably a lot of other single-player games. I think one of the biggest things that's affecting people at this point is burnout. You know, a lot of people, you know, myself included, have been playing Tarkov for like the last, 4 or 5 years, especially, all the people that stream the game. A lot of them that are around are like really OGs from like way back in the day. We've seen the game come, leaps and bounds since then. And I think you just can't really expect somebody to play the same game for like 5 years straight and not feel some kind of burnout without having to take a break. So for me right now, I'm actually enjoying playing EFT at the moment because I had to reset my account because of the subathon we did. It was one of the goals that got hit. And now that my account's reset, I've actually got some stuff to go and do. I want to get my account back up to max traders and, get all my cases back and, level up my hideout and get my soft skills back up and stuff. So I've actually got some motivation to keep going. But for those people that, grinded out all their stuff within the first month, got their Kappa containers and stuff, all that's left for them to do is PvP. And if that's what you're into, that's great. But for me, I think that when Arena comes out, it's going to be a great thing to kind of distract from the main game. It's going to give us something else to do. The custom game modes that we're eventually going to have as well is going to be a really great thing so we can play with our communities and do stuff like that. But I think for the time being, this wipe that we got, there wasn't really a lot of content to keep people back. And also the cheating problems being pretty rough too. So I think those are mostly the reasons why people have sort of been taking a break and why there's been a lot of complaining about EFT, between the desync, the cheaters and lack of content and stuff like that. We're just gonna, again, these are words I've said many times in the past. We're just gonna have to wait for more content. And that's all we can really do, I guess. So I just kind of wanted to chime in. I'm not quitting EFT. I still like the game, obviously. I wouldn't play it if I didn't. And I think I'm with a lot of you guys watching. If you
shit. Shit.
Now, let's be clear here. This structure I just laid out wasn't 100% consistent all of the time. It was a core aspect of the series often enough that you'd get used to it, but that doesn't mean there weren't a few duds and non-conforming elements. In fact, not only did those duds exist, but they gradually became more frequent as we approach the arc that broke the series. A great example of that is Kurogiri, whose twist has all of its prep work and actual substance outsourced to a spin-off, and thus doesn't conform to the model we created. And there are numerous other examples, because at the end, this is just a model. This is me, a random dude, trying to make sense of something after the fact. However, even so, these instances remain fairly rare and mostly concerned with smaller, less central parts of the narrative, while the heavy hitters still followed this 3-ingredient recipe. In fact, its strongest example came right on the cusp of the breaking point. Dabi. I will just go out and say it. To me, Dabi's dance and its associated flashbacks are the last part of MHA's old identity. One final hurrah before everything changed. But what a send-off it is. So meticulously prepared that everyone predicted it years before it happened, and yet so narratively deliberate and impactful that it was still hype as shit. Years and years of build-up and careful planning gave way to a stage where all the pieces, Endeavor, Hawks, the war, were in just the right, deliberate position for the trigger to be pulled and for the reveal to have massive effects on the already beaten and battered hero system. Dabi had been, for the last few months, shown to be so much smarter and much more dangerous than he let on until then, and he was ready to enact his revenge. It was this structure's greatest hit, and should have been another paradigm shift just like Kamino. It was delightful. But, as we were getting ever closer to the breaking point, this did not last. And while the war arc went on for a few more chapters, the style already began to shift towards a new signature structure, one which to me has become synonymous with the arc that broke MHA. Villain Hunt.
Yes, I know the official start of the arc is a few chapters later, but shush, this is my video.
Before we even enter the main arc properly, things start changing already. After spending years to build up Dabi, going as far as hinting at larger plans beyond just his revenge, we suddenly get a conga line of plot developments aiming to ridicule and depreciate his character and his build-up. Not only is Genus not dead, Dabi has no contingency plan for this scenario despite stating that he predicted this. Okay then. And before this had time to sink in, multiple things happen at once. Deku unlocks a new quirk, Mirio comes back, Compress reveals he is the descendant of one of the big 3 villain lords and annihilates his own ass cheek, and all for one. Dabi has no contingency plan for this scenario despite stating that he predicted this. Okay then. And before this had time to sink in, multiple things happen at once. Deku unlocks a new quirk, Mirio comes back, Compress reveals he is the descendant of one of the big 3 villain lords and annihilates his own ass cheek, and all for one. Big 3 villain lords and annihilates his own ass. Mirio comes back, Compress reveals he is the descendant of one of the big 3 villain lords and annihilates his own ass cheek, and all for one possesses Shigaraki. More on all of that later. For now, with this salad of bizarre plot decisions, the war ends and we enter Villain Hunt properly. This prelude already clues us in on one of Villain Hunt's main features. Its bonkers pace and general laissez-faire attitude towards honoring pre-established narrative elements and preparation. Deku is a vigilante now, so no time to lose. We race from set piece to set piece, with very little in terms of actual downtime. This also applies to some rather crucial stuff, with Deku's mastery of the predecessor's quirks being essentially entirely skipped. Either way, while out hunting for villains that escaped in the very cool Tartarus prison break, Deku spirals down mentally, until his entire class shows up and subdues him, urging him to come home. There's quirks being essentially entirely skipped. Either way, while out hunting for villains that escaped in the very cool Tartarus prison break, Deku spirals down mentally, until his entire class shows up and subdues him, urging him to come home. While this is an exciting premise with balls-to-the-walls action, this is also the arc that broke MHA. And it does this by taking that narrative structure we discussed earlier and shooting it in the head. A constant factor to Deku's presence in the story is the state of his body. Much of his journey is determined by the various injuries he incurs and the threat of their consequences. In particular, we are continuously reminded of the severe damage to his arms and how the next big injury might paralyze them permanently. It is this threat that hangs over him for the majority of the series, pushing him to develop new fighting styles that are distinct from those his idol relied on. Again, we see preparation leading to a situation in which this character is pushed and directed in a deliberate manner, a journey dictated by the threat of consequence. And that threat loomed to become fact during the war arc, when an enraged Deku pummels Shigaraki relentlessly using his already damaged arms. We are once again reminded, in the middle of this, of what might happen if Deku overuses his arms again. It by all intents and purposes seems like the series is finally pulling the trigger on a plot point it has been flirting with for actual real-life years. It is ready to make reality of the threat of consequence. Whoops! No, actually, Deku is totally fine, and his body has magically acclimated to the strain, and he probably won't have to worry about it anymore. Now, while the explanation given here is logical enough, it nonetheless represents a complete abandonment of consequence regarding this plot element. What was the point of using Deku's physical condition as a guide rail for his development for all of those years, when the one time he actually oversteps it, the threatened consequence is just hand-waved away? The point is, who cares? We gotta keep moving. Look how cool Deku is now. Whoa! You could say that this is a tiny issue, that I am nitpicking. And you are right, but A, small issues add up if they become common enough. Many bigger narrative problems are often built on small, insular, but regular hiccups. And B, this isn't a one-time thing. Just like how our earlier example of the Stain arc was a microcosm of the series' general approach to structure and causality, this too is a condensed but representative glimpse of MHA's post-war narrative structure. This begins a trend of how most of the plot elements within the arc are handled. Dabi's televised reveal was, based on its execution and just logic, supposed to completely erode and destroy the hero system, casting Endeavor and Hawks, two pillars of it, as irredeemable monsters. But instead, Hawks' guilt is weakened by Genis being alive, and Endeavor sees very little consequence from him being outed as an abusive asshole, besides some mean comments. In fact, the destroyed and broken world we see in this arc isn't really the result of the war arc at all. The chaos and destruction are caused by the prison break and the attack on the HPSC, both of which happen separate from the war. Not only that, but the actual post-war world of MHA receives almost no emphasis at all. Due to reasons we will get into, Villain Hunt will likely remain the only arc to really have had the chance to traverse this broken world. And it is only 37 chapters long. By comparison, we spend almost 200 chapters in a post-communal world, which allowed the weight of losing the symbol of peace to truly breathe and show itself. Obviously, length is not how you automatically make a plot point good, but when we're talking about something as massive as a societal paradigm shift, time spent in that new world does equal emphasis. Kamino was a quiet devastation that allowed for extended exploration of how the system was failing. The war, by comparison, was a loud train crash, and its consequences should reasonably have deserved a similar emphasis, maybe even more, as it was a much more dramatic change. Thus, much of the build-up and deliberation that went into setting up the war and its various potential effects on the world are either castrated to barely factor into the series going forward beyond isolated details, or hijacked by sudden, more influential developments. So, Villain Hunt is only marginally about the state of the world. What is it primarily about then? It establishes early on that it wants to explore Deku's mental state, and that Japan's broken streets are a sort of externalized metaphor. This also means that it would, by necessity, have to explore his relationship to All Might. Throughout the story, it is consistently brought up that All Might is an unrealistic standard, an unreachable ideal whose pursuit only causes problems. We see this in Endeavor, in the post-Kamino tensions, and, most crucially, in Deku. His self-destructive recklessness and gotta-do-it-all attitude are continuously and explicitly stated to be a direct consequence of his admiration for All Might and the latter's encouragement of a simple, sacrificial heroism. All Might's post-Kamino story is in a sense his reconciliation with his mere humanity, and that his existence as a deific symbol did more harm than he imagined. Then, in the war arc, we see Deku at his most reckless, his self-destructive heroism turning him into a raging mass of tendrils and wrath, pounding into his enemy with pure, furious abandon. This darker, toxic side of All Might's teachings is something the series had been building up for years, and Villain Hunt set out to finally explore its ramifications fully. Except it doesn't. We see Deku dirty, tired, battered, and bloody. We see him confused about his state of the world and his role within it, exhausted at the prospect of how much is riding on his shoulders. He's grinding himself into a muddy, smelly paste, trying to do everything himself. But while all of this is a good showcase of how the outwardly positive messages of All Might's example have affected him negatively, and while scenes of him leaving All Might behind are pretty well executed, it overall doesn't actually go anywhere. Much of his actual journey is just skipped over, and the moments we do get to see only serve to formulate a placid, damn, some villains are more evil than others, that's crazy. And for as much as it revels in how broken Deku is, the actual solution to this years-long bad mindset ends up being 2 speeches and a bath. All very sweet moments, but they ultimately don't address the core issue. They are saccharine declarations of camaraderie that aim to distract from the real problem. The fact that Deku is willing to kill himself if he thinks he can win through it. The arc in fact goes out of its way to never really address the self-destructive part of Deku, only his lone wolf attitude. The arc thus becomes more about vaguely teaching Deku to rely on others rather than to curb his penchant for reckless abandon. Thus, it ends with Deku trusting his friends, a far less interesting conclusion that is bookended by a celebratory bath scene that speedruns all possible character interactions in order to just quickly move on. The most interesting one, Deku talking to Uraraka after her emotional speech about him, gets the funniest excuse in all of MHA. She just do be sleeping though. This haphazard conclusion extends to the other half of the subplot as well, All Might. While he gets a pretty great scene with Stain, his reunion with Deku is very underbaked, to put it lightly, turned into a quick gag that gives the two characters no room to actually explore anything that matters. This man had to face the reality that his careless attitude endangered his beloved pupil, and all we get from it is a joke. So this plot point too has all of its preparation and deliberate narrative structure devalued, as its consequences are confined to superficial and breezy moments that ultimately don't deliver on the potential these ideas promised. So, Villain Hunt fails to deliver on the 2 narrative beats it absolutely had to: Deku's mental state and the broken post-war world. It does that by giving neither idea time to breathe, condensing it to the bare minimum and always moving ahead at 500 miles per hour. Thus, it underdelivers on the consequences these ideas promise in their earlier stages, breaking the so far established style of MHA structure in favor of a style that heavily relies on just speed, moving forward, and being cool. These are the 2 big examples, but there are so many more. Let's list some, for fun. Hawks is established from the get-go as being defined by his quirk, his entire life being usurped by his job for the HPSC and by extension his prowess with fierce wings. He also immediately communicates that his wings are extremely weak to fire, thus setting up the danger of him having to eventually face Dabi, who is linked to him within the first chapters of Hawks' appearance due to their collaboration. This danger is made real as they do end up clashing in battle, which results in Dabi brutally burning Hawks, leading to a dramatic panel in which Dark Shadow declares that there is nothing left on his back. This seems to be a clear setup for Hawks having lost his wings permanently, as only his feathers are confirmed to regenerate, not the stems. But instead, they grow back almost like new. This further removes any consequence of Dobby's actions during the war and makes the event less impactful to characters that actually matter. Endeavor's life has been entirely derailed by his perceived inferiority to All Might. It is this feeling of never being able to catch up to him that led him down a dark, abusive path, a path which ruined the lives of his entire family and created a monstrous villain. In Villain Hunt, he discovers that All Might's superiority was neither inherent nor earned, and was instead a transferred power that instantly made him nigh on invincible and put him into an unreachable echelon by default, thus making all of Endeavor's life and suffering kind of pointless. Endeavor has, somehow, no thoughts on this. We are given no reaction, no payoff, nothing regarding what should have been a shocking moment that would have opened the door for some interesting characterization. All Might's story is inherently tied to Endeavor, and yet this enormous piece of info just doesn't seem to matter to NG initially. We are given the tiniest crumb regarding this dynamic one arc later, but by this point, it's too little, too late. The arc makes it a point to show students out in the field compensating for their lost and retired pro heroes. Among them, we get to see two of the big three, Tamaki and Nejire, doing their part. Mirio is conspicuously absent, having in fact not shown up since his return as of writing this video. All the hoops the story had to jump through in order to bring him back prematurely are rendered even more ridiculous, as his non-existence within the story makes his role in the war even more pointless and frustrating than it already was. His subplot, and by extension Eri's, were rushed to completion only for him to now not matter. Gran Torino is dramatically impaled by Shigaraki during the war so hard the earth shatters beneath him, and then he passes on escape to Deku as he lays broken in the hospital bed. But he isn't dead. Or rather, the series just forgets about his existence, never actually following up on whether or not he croaked. This is so weird because it diminishes the weight and meaning of the cape, while also making Shigaraki look so incompetent that he couldn't even kill one old man, and there is no reason to just not confirm he died. What the hell? Dobby is continuously hinted at having a lot of insider knowledge regarding the HPSC and Hawks, with him shockingly knowing his real name. This, together with his adversarial attitude towards heroism and his obsession with Hawks, seemed to set him up to have some connection to the secret hero training program that keeps being shown in the background. This is later, however, revealed to be just him having a bunch of unnamed, never again mentioned goons which harassed Hawks' mom for info. The secret hero program is also never brought up again and remains a dropped plot point. Toga dramatically spits off from the League to pursue Uraraka and, after a brief scuffle, is reported missing separately from the rest of the League. This might seem like a setup for something interesting, but instead she just reunites with them off-screen. This isn't like story breaking, it's just plain weird. Why would you even bother having her split off and then mention specifically that she's separate from them now if it just isn't gonna lead to anything? Why? Redestro, Compress, and Dr. Garaki all leave the story with seemingly no further plot relevance to be had. They are arrested and not mentioned again thus far. Even as the villains attack and break open 7 prisons all across the country, none of these 3 up to this point fairly relevant characters are given even the briefest mention. Again, not the end of the world, but just bizarre. Overhaul is broken out of prison, which immediately screams relevance. He was the main villain of a massive arc in the past after all. Even unarmed, his reintroduction into the story should bring with it something at least. Instead, he bumbles about and is captured again without doing a single thing. Even Deku's speech to him isn't really anything of note. So, what was the point of breaking him out in the first place? Who knows? The series definitely doesn't. The common trait all of the mentioned and the numerous unmentioned examples have is their priority. Move forward to the next cool moment at all costs. No matter what pre-established subplots or character motivations may weigh it down, The narrative just has to keep moving no matter what. Things like Hawks' wings or Endeavor's opinion on One for All are just distractions from what matters, moving forward and being exciting. This central attitude continuously detaches and diminishes the concept of consequence within the various plot elements, and turns the series into a fast and thrilling fireworks show at the cost of ignoring many of the underlying ideas and deliberate prep work that made the series what it is. This dogmatic devotion to always moving to the next cool thing reaches its most hilarious extreme in chapters 316 and 317. In 316, Deku and a gaggle of pro heroes locate and infiltrate a mansion said to be one of All for One's hideouts. Unfortunately, the mansion is rigged, and the chapter ends on a cliffhanger as the entire house explodes with our boys inside. They obviously can't die, plot armor, but naturally, chapter 17 starts with an exciting montage of Deku saving the... No, wait, sorry, I had the notes muddled up. Chapter 317 starts with all of them fine, sitting in a warehouse, acting as if nothing happened besides briefly mentioning that Deku saved them thanks to Danger Sense. What would have been a great opportunity to show off Deku's mastery of his abilities, as well as justified respect the pro heroes have for him, is entirely shafted in order to move forward once again. The explosion simply didn't matter and was just another cool cliffhanger. This isn't the arc's greatest sin by any means, but its blank-faced absurdity and nonchalant pace make it extremely funny, like something I'd expect out of Family Guy. But it's not just consequences that Villain Hunt diminishes. In some cases, it manages to muck up preparation and deliberation as well. And wouldn't you know it, confined within Villain Hunt is a secondary mini-arc that shows us an extreme example of how this new structure can backfire and fail on basically every front imaginable. Now, before I get the usual smug comments, I am aware that some consider this an arc entirely separate from Villain Hunt, and I think that's fair. But for the purposes of this video, I will be treating Stars and Stripes as an attachment to Villain Hunt, because I can and you cannot stop me. As the conflict in Japan is heating up, the country requests foreign help, which stalls at the bureaucracy of the UN. The #1 US hero, Star and Stripe, takes a platoon of jets and heads to Japan on her own, as she feels she owes it to All Might, who saved her when she was a young child. All for One and Shigaraki take this opportunity to face her, as her quirk, New Order, needs to be either stolen or destroyed before All for One's plan can succeed. Let me say right out of the gate that this fight is awesome. Some of the coolest panels in the series, and as far as premises go, a fight on top of fighter jets in the stratosphere is pure peak fictionium. If rule of cool were all that matters, this mini-arc is fantastic. Unfortunately, we are cursed with frontal lobes, and thus must have these pesky things called thoughts. Like, for example, what the point of this arc was. The Stars and Stripes arc sets out to essentially solve two issues. For one, it explains the absence of international action in the next big war. As the next fight with All for One looms, the series seemingly wants to avoid having to utilize foreign heroes in battle, so it needs a way to explain their absence, which is done by having Star's defeat scare off any international support. And secondly, the arc endeavors to address New Order, Star's quirk, which is literally plot-breaking, an ability that can effortlessly rewrite the rules of reality. The story can't progress without dealing with this power, as its continued existence would result in an instant win for any side that has it. It would kind of be a time turner like in Harry Potter, so to speak, an element that should be the instant solution to anything, and anytime it isn't on screen you should be asking, why aren't they using New Order? So clearly it needs to somehow be dealt with. So, the arc sets out to solve two problems and gets rid of both of them. Good writing 101, right? Yeah, except neither of these problems needed solving. And that is because neither of them existed before the arc brought them up. The presence of international hero associations has always been light in MHA, to say the least. What little we did hear of the outside world continuously painted the picture of disharmony and overall bureaucratic stagnation, with no nation seemingly being able to agree how much agency and authority heroes should have. This alone is already a good enough base to counter the potential question of where are the foreign heroes during the big fight. The idea that the UN Council will be too slow to react in time is by itself perfectly reasonable. Additionally, All For One mentions that his uprising has caused all of his former associates across the globe to raise hell, meaning that nations are now concerned with their own domestic issues. Both of these were perfectly fine explanations as to why international help would be unavailable. The entire idea of foreign heroes going rogue and helping Japan is only introduced by Star. And her quirk, New Order, that absolutely needed to be dealt with? It is not mentioned once before the fight starts. Star herself isn't either, as she's very sloppily retroactively given an identity in a movie-exclusive extra. So, this arc is so ultimately pointless that the only narrative solutions it offers are to problems it invented in the first place. It is built on no foundation other than the haphazardly manufactured issues that didn't exist 5 seconds before the arc starts. It is the definitive rejection of the series' original structure. There is no preparation, as all possible connections to pre-established story facts are ignored in favor of just making shit up. There is no deliberation, as no one involved in this arc intrinsically needed to be there, since their reasons for existing in the situation are entirely fabricated as the arc goes on. And consequence, the final piece of the trifecta? The story goes through absurd lengths to make sure this fight didn't matter. New Order messes around a little, but disappears and only destroys a handful of quirks that are non-essential to All For One's plan. And that's it. This omission of relevance is so baffling that the series managed to confuse numerous translators into accidentally giving it importance. Both official Spanish translations and some English fan translations have All For One note that this moment is a delayed effect of New Order. This is false. The proper translation has him specifically say that not even New Order could do this. Star is so thoroughly removed from the concept of consequence that her only posthumous influence over the plot is an annotation about how useless she was, spoken by the guy she was supposed to stop. Oh, speaking of, we should probably talk about Potato Man. All For One is the worst thing to happen to MHA. I'm sorry. I know people get very mad at me every time I say it, but there's no two ways about it. He sucks. If there's one single element that has derailed MHA's structure and story the most, one guy that can be single-handedly blamed for what we have now, it's this ballsack looking fuck. Within his original appearance in MHA, All For One held a wonderfully elegant narrative position. Him and his counter, All Might, represented the old guard, titans of a bygone era where singular titans could actually exist in the first place. All For One was, like All Might, a crumbling monolith. This mattered because much of MHA's story seemed to focus on the idea of passing the torch, as All Might sought to leave the world in the hands of someone who could maintain what he had built. This reveals itself as ultimately futile though, as All Might was an unrealistic perfect hero that no one could replace. Thus, the modern era has to produce a modern idea of heroism and the unity between public and hero. Through All For One and Shigaraki, this transitional conflict is mirrored on the villain's side. All For One is a perfect, unyielding evil, and Shigaraki's generation must find a way to move on from the legacy he left behind. It was a very cool thematic link that gave the story a strong direction and identity, especially considering that MHA itself, having started only shortly after the immensely popular Naruto ended, was also extra-diegetically about taking up the mantle of an older, greater master and trying to become its own thing in the wake of that series' legacy. Now, the thing about transitional narratives is that they actually have to transition. The entire idea of passing on the torch hinges on that torch actually being passed, which means that the old needs to eventually fuck off and give the stage to the new, so it can show if it lives up to the task. All Might does this in pretty much the best way imaginable. One last hurrah, one last great fight, but then he's out. Not dead, but narratively greatly diminished in his influence. And maybe even better, he bows out too early. Deku is not yet ready, the world isn't ready, but they all have to cope. And it's that copium which leads to interesting choices and story beats. All for One initially also follows this concept, with his incarceration essentially removing his narrative agency. With him gone, the story begins building up Shigaraki and turns him into one of my favorite characters in the entire series. More on that in this video here. But for the purpose of this video, what made Shigaraki an engaging character to follow is much the same as what made Deku engaging. They are both abandoned by their perfect monolithic masters at a time when they are completely and utterly out of their depth. They are both insecure, incompetent, and now tasked with facing the future without the guidance of Superman and Satan respectively. These humble beginnings are what make their eventual growth so much more satisfying. Seeing Shiggy, a dumb nerd who could barely utter a coherent sentence upon his debut, stand tall in a crater of his own making, being crowned Grand Commander of an army of villains, is supremely cathartic in much the same way as seeing Deku dismantle Overhaul is. This also, again, plays into the transitional narrative. All for One and All Might seemed like they were perfect from the start, never really growing or changing because there was no need to. This stagnant perfection sets them apart from their torchbearers, who must struggle and adapt in order to earn their position and lead their respective communities. This very elegantly identifies this new generation as more grounded, realistic, and by implication more productive and stable, as it isn't based on a single inhumanly perfect pillar to support it. Deku and Shigaraki carry this narrative together very effectively because they take the stage, severed from their masters. And then All for One comes back, hijacks Shigaraki's body, takes over the plot, and becomes the actual